I honestly wasn't too sure if I would ever be able to say this again. Mighty Mercury. Hey, what is up, PHNX Mercury podcast fam? I am your host, Erika Day. I'm joined by PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, Stephen Pridgeon Garner. Stephen, huge Mercury W in game two, 80 to 60, no, 86 to 60. My goodness. I would ask how you're doing, but I suspect really freaking good right now.
Yeah, they went and did what I expected that they would do. This could have been the result in game one with the way that they were playing defense if they were making the shots that they were creating for themselves. But you can't be revisionist history and you can't play Monday morning quarterback, if you will. They lost game one. They went on the road and they did what they were supposed to do. And this game three is why you put in all the work and why that early start to the season was so important, because that early stretch is why they were able to sustain home court advantage. And now you have to host game three at home rather than being on the road for it. So now it's time to cash in on all your investments. Game three at home in front of your X Factor, the best home court advantage in the W. Take advantage of it. How you feeling?
I'm hype. I came from Arizona Men's Basketball Media Day today, which was hype as well. I got Noah pinch hitting for us because Kevin got caught up in a rainstorm coming home from Tucson. Basically, the whole day was just a chaotic, insane disaster. But ultimately, if the Mercury come out on top, I was literally telling Noah before we got started, I have a 6 o'clock meeting in the morning tomorrow. And frankly, if the Mercury had lost this game, it would be a problem for everybody involved in the meeting, plus maybe the entire city of Tucson. So, this was really a win for the world, honestly. So, Mercury up, vibes are up, Mercury vibes only. This is a great place to be. Shout out to all of you guys for joining us in the chat today, for being here on this with us on this fine. I was gonna say Thursday, but it's Wednesday evening, ahead of now game three in Phoenix. I'm sure all of you guys are busy, locked in on Ticketmaster or TickPick, whatever, StubHub, whatever you use to get your seating for all these sporting events. I'm sure you're locked in, trying to get your game three seats as we speak through this recap post game. Huge game. I want to get into it with our one word burns. I always feel like this is a great place for us to start to kind of rip the band-aid off, get to the grit, right? So no, if you want to bring those up, my word today is scorching, because frankly that the start was hot. Like that second quarter was hot fire, and not really any other way to put it. And yeah, I mean, once that second quarter happened, it felt like this was the Mercury's game to lose, and you love when your team is in that sort of position.
Yeah, for me, it was MVO, and everybody knows what that means. Mercury vibes only. They played Mercury basketball the latter half of the first quarter, all the way through the second quarter, and it pretty much sustained the rest of the way. Um, like I said, after game one, I wasn't panicking. I said if they do what they're supposed to do on offense, this is a game that they should be able to win, and that Ellie would not have fun in it. I don't think we saw Ellie on ESPN's camera not one time through the duration of that game, because there was no fun to be had with that game. I mean, Satou said it in post game or Kahleah said it in post game rather. She said, it was kind of quiet, like we expected to come into like a loud arena and things. It was quiet, and it was quiet because they played the game on their terms and they dictated those terms pretty much for the entirety of the game. So Mercury vibes only. That's what that game was played off of.
I'm going with tough. I mean, they just shut them down. Absolutely no chance. I mean, the game was over at halftime. They just outmuscled them, just bully ball. It's over.
I love when we get Noah's opinion because we first of all get a crossed out Kevin face and that's hilarious. But then second of all, his perspective is just a little, always a little, I feel like edgier than Kevin, just a little bit, not to your shade. But no, it was a great game and it made you, if you're a Mercury fan, you had to feel something in this game. And to Noah's exact point, like when all three of your big three have 12 or more points at halftime, your team is in a super solid position to win the game. So it was a game that you can walk away feel it with your head held very high if you have been watching this team all season. This is the product you expected on the floor a month ago when we were talking about the playoffs. And so, if you're Stephen or I's viewer, a longtime viewer of the show, you should not be not you should not have been surprised at how they went about winning tonight's game. Because as well as they did score the ball today, especially when you compare it to game one on Monday, the defense is really what tonight's win was rooted in. And I mean, even listening to Ryan and Rebecca in the broadcast, like they could not stop talking about the suffocating defense that was the Phoenix Mercury and how hard it was to play into the dribble penetration, get around screens. Basically, everything was just impossible for the New York Liberty. And when you're putting your opponents back against the wall like that, it makes things a lot easier for you on in offense land. So, this team has never wanted to play against a fully set defense and put up a ton of points. They wanted to play in transition, and that's exactly what they got tonight. So, why don't we actually just go ahead and get into the by the numbers? I feel like Steven can walk us through these, and that honestly goes off of basically everything I'm saying right now.
Yeah, so obviously, top of the top, you got 86-60 victory for the Phoenix Mercury and a much needed win, a gotta have it game, a must win game, all of those things. Because if you don't win, there is no Friday, and if you do win, there's a party to be had at PHX Arena. We got the latter. There is a party. I'm very curious to see how many of our members in the chat right now will be in attendance for that game. Definitely let us know if you are able to, or if you ultimately end up doing it. Tag us on Twitter, communicate with us somehow, let us know. But to the point of this game, you want to start with everything that's on the New York Liberty side of things. The Phoenix Mercury held the New York Liberty, a team with multiple All-Stars, multiple Olympians, multiple all-W level players, offensively especially, to 30.2% from the field. They held them to 18% from the field in the second quarter alone. When mentioning the defense to the extent that I did, and I tried to bring so much of discourse was swinging towards Satou and putting this microscope on her game, and it wasn't fairly used. The conversation should have been, no, if they just make one or two more shots, with the level of defense that they're playing, there's not many teams they're going to lose to. The margin for error against the Phoenix Mercury when their defense is as great as it's been through these first two games, it's slim to none. And at that point, it's all about what are they doing with themselves on offense. When they get out of their own way offensively and their defense, like I mentioned on Monday's show or Sunday's show, whenever our last podcast was, it's been a long week. Whenever we did our last post game, I mentioned this is the second best defense, 1B defense in the W, and on any given night, they can be the best defense because they play defense in a way that forces you to turn the ball over. Other teams are good with their defense, but when the Mercury defend without fouling, there's just nothing you can do with them. And that's what we saw in today's game. They defended without fouling. They didn't gamble. They were sharp. They were helping each other. They were active, communicative, suffocating.
They were playing good team basketball on both ends of the court, and it was very connected. And at no point did it feel like any one person was doing too much to make things run on the defensive end. And I think that that's really important to play the style of basketball that this team wants to play. So, yeah, again, if you watch this show, this should not be a surprise because we've been talking about this since the very, very, very beginning of the season, and that this is exactly how they want to play.
I mean, it is. Shout out to everybody in the chat reminding me myself about the studies that went up earlier today. I mean, we asked what the reason why I wasn't worried about them going into game two was. All we talked about in that film session was defense. There was a lot more we could have got into. I felt like keeping it short and sweet, especially after a loss, was good enough to get the point home. And we saw the point emphasized times 50 in game 2. Everything we showed in the film session from game 1, copy and paste, add a little bit more on top, another layer and another layer. This team is hard to deal with if they're playing the ways that they are offensively when the defense is at that level. They've had the best defense in the playoffs so far. And for a team that even lost game 1, that's saying a ton. They have to bring that in game 3. I've mentioned going into the playoffs on our Friday episode for the preview. Obviously, I wasn't on it, but in the preview part of it, it was going to be off the strength of their defense that any success they would find in the playoffs will have to come from. And they saw a whole lot of it. I think this was their best defensive game of the season. And it's not surprising the timing of it. A team that understands its identity and your backs are against the wall, urgency is as high as it gets, the stakes are as high as it gets. The best teams are going to go fall into their identity. The teams that are not going to really know where to go. They leaned into the defense and they reaped the benefits of investing in that all season long in this present moment.
Well, and when, you have Dewana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Satou Sabally, and Kahleah Copper all going to the rim for uncontested layups because that's how good you are in transition tonight against a very good New York team. I mean,
Yep.
this New York team is until tonight, like in game 1, they were striking on basically all cylinders, even without really shooting the ball super well. So, like, they are a hard team to beat, and the Mercury came out and did it by 26 points tonight. So, it was a very, very impressive victory, especially off the back of a overtime loss that could have been crushing morally for a lot of people. I saw, a lot of people rightfully saying that it felt like the series was just kind of dead in the water after that game 1 that went down in Phoenix. And based off of how the Mercury lost, like outsiders looking in, I understand why they might have felt that way. But if you know anything about this team, you knew that they were going to dig deep and they were going to come out on the other side, especially in this game 2. We're going to talk about game 3 later, but in game 2, like, not that I never had a doubt, because I do read things and then I get a big head and blah 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 blah. You guys know how the laundry works, and then Steven pulls me back off the cliff. That's the entire reason we have this whole podcast in the first freaking place. But I edged myself off the cliff multiple times because this team is full of winners that is capable of doing it at the highest level and has proven it well before this season with the Phoenix Mercury. So, it was that second quarter was incredible basketball. When you hold a team like the New York Liberty to only 12 points, it makes it very, very difficult for a team to get back into the game. I'm pretty sure we had the flip side of this exact conversation last year when the Phoenix Mercury had to play the Minnesota Lynx in the first round of the playoff. I'm pretty sure you could probably recite this exact conversation in the opposite direction last year in those playoff games. So the Phoenix Mercury are in a really, really good spot right now.
Yeah, Kevin, if we could get the numbers back up one last time, I'm gonna run through the rest and then get to some others. Obviously, holding New York to 23% from 3 in particular, in tandem with the field goal percentage that they held them to, very, very relevant. But to the Mercury side of things, 22 assists to only 9 turnovers. That number is very significant. New York's defense is one of the best in the W. New York's defense is also one that's as versatile as any other in the W. So the fact that the Mercury have taken care of the ball as well as they have in this series so far, very, 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 very impressive. They need a whole lot more of that in game 3 in tandem with the margins that I continue to speak to. Taking care of the ball while also forcing your opponents into significantly more turnovers than they're accustomed to. That's a way to increase the margins for yourself, but also shrink the margins for error on your opponents. And we saw, again, a whole lot of those things playing out. Some other numbers that are not included there that I wanted to make sure we touched on. I'm glad the fast break point numbers was up there. I mentioned the 15 turnovers from the New York Liberty. 25 points off of turnovers for the Phoenix Mercury in this one. Game 1, rather, I think it was 20 turnovers for the New York Liberty, and the Mercury had 12 points off turnovers. They had plenty more opportunities to score than they actually did, but they just weren't effective in converting on those opportunities that they created. The fact that they did and they flipped that and reversed the course of that in game 2. Again, just speaks to the difference in execution from them from game 1 to game 2. And when you get to the half court and you look at the efficiency on the numbers in terms of what they shot from the field, 47.9% on 71 field goal attempts. Very, very good. Obviously, you want to see them make more threes. That comes and goes. That's not as controllable as other things are. You take that as it comes, but when they're putting together a game like this one, they're really hard to beat. And this is, again, not unlike game 1 or game 2. This is game 3. This is a very repeatable performance that they can put forth in that one.
Well, and we're gonna obviously being the X factor, but to your own point about the 3 pointers, like after a game like Satu did have in game 1, like I want to see them aggressive and going toward the rim, and that's exactly what we saw repeatedly in this game. And so if the three ball isn't falling, fine. We've discussed about how this team isn't a true like 3-point shooting team. That's not what they desire to do. They want to get you quickly in fast break situations or in transition. And so you're like it's whatever shot they can get that is a good shot the quickest. So if that's a layup, I'm gonna say it. We'll take the freaking layup. Like, so I wasn't mad at all at the shot selection, and the 3-point shooting doesn't scare you when they're shooting 47% from the field. And when Alyssa Thomas is as big of a part of that as she is, the team is rebounding as a entire team. I think that they showed this little clip of Nate telling all 5 players that were about to go back in the game, you need to rebound, you need to rebound, you need to rebound, you need to rebound, you need to rebound. And the team was winning the rebound battle at that point. Like, so, their focus, their innate ability to stay locked in on the goal at hand is really important, and this team is not going to get away from that. Steven's talking about the Mercury vibes only. Like, this isn't new. The saying is, yes, Mercury vibes only, but then also the other side of that is MVE, Mercury versus everybody. And so this team has that mentality, and it shows when they play like this on the floor.
Yeah. Again, it's a game that when they can play it on their terms for as long as they did in game 1 and game 2, those are games that during the regular season they lost maybe 2 of those, and they probably had like an 18-2 record when their defense is that active and is that sustained, and they're not fouling, and they're doing all of the little things on that end. That end sets the tone for everything that comes on offense, and they had a lot of fun playing offense tonight as well.
Well, and I want to get to the X factor of the game right now because I think, to the point that I just made after Monday's game, and I saw all the comments. I'm looking at you, and it probably is you. If you're looking at me right now, it probably is you that made a comment that I don't really like, and I don't appreciate that because we've been talking highly about these people all season, and having one bad game is not a reason to blow up the internet with nasty comments. So, without further ado, the X factor of today's game is Satou Sabally with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. Oh my God, 4 steals, man! Fire me up, fire me up, because like, yeah, the 15 points is great, the 7 rebounds is fantastic, 4 assists, incredible, but 4 assists, that's 4 possessions that Satou Sabally essentially created out of thin air for the Phoenix Mercury. So, it's 4 more possessions that they probably scored points on. It's 4 more possessions that they kept New York from scoring. It's incredible. So yeah, I it was a great game by Satou Sabally, and like I was just talking about a few minutes ago, like when she has a game that she isn't shooting the ball as well as she normally does, I love to see her come back out in the next game attacking the rim and finding easy shots that she knows she's going to make, and just being plain aggressive. That O board into the putback, I mean, fired the X factor up everywhere because that was just absolutely electric. So incredible.
Yeah, that second quarter for Satou, 10 points in 10 minutes in that second quarter, 4 for 5 from the field, knocked down the 3. Also had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, or 1 rebound, 2 assists, and also had a steal sprinkled in there as well. That's the kind of inflection point. That's the point where the game shifted. And it shifted heavily in favor of the Mercury because Satou Sabally not only started playing with force, but she was put in positions to be successful. She wasn't getting touches as a response to things being taken away or late in the shot clock and she's forced to put up a shot. The context always matters. I say it a lot. I hope that that's probably the thing that people take away from this season. Apply the context to what it is that you're speaking to and see if what you're trying to get to is making sense or if there's a little bit that's being lost in that plot that you can kind of paint a better picture and understand what's going on with it. And to that point with Satou Sabally, second quarter comes around, they're running plays for her to have the ball in her hands. They specifically went to the inverted pick and rolls that we've been speaking to, that I've been mentioning on the podcast since the beginning of the season, since before the season started. Putting her in that action, putting stress on Breanna Stewart to make decisions, navigating on the ball and not being able to kind of play in space off it. Because of that, in tandem with Sabrina Ionescu being brought into that action as well, it's hard to guard. Satou's had opportunities to turn the corner, and she was doing what she was supposed to do, taking, and I mentioned this on Twitter, taking the exact same shots that she did in game one. If teams are playing drop or if they're trying to show and recover, she's threatening the leverage of that person in the show, turning the corner, getting downhill, putting pressure on the rim, getting to the free throw line and scoring, if not doing both of those things. And if they're playing her soft or the switch is soft, she's finding pull-up pockets against the switch, and she's getting into it in a rhythm that she's comfortable taking that shot with, going left or going right. These are the shots that she's been emphasizing and adding to her shot profile all season long. Her shot diet and her shot profile from game one to game two, she took the same shots. She maybe took one less mid-range shot than she did in game one or in game two versus game one, but generally she was operating with the same mindset. It's just that the rhythm and the intentionality behind her touches was shifted from what it was in game one to what it was in game two. And because of that, we saw a confident Satou be matched with impact on her scoring. And she was the X factor for multiple reasons. And to the other point, defensively, she had 3 steals in game two or in game one. I think people, again, were so caught up with the field goal percentage and the shot volume. Like, you forgot the other side of the ball was the focal point of the game. The defense was what it was. She played integrally to that. She was extremely important. The 3 steals she got in that game, not by happenstance. Copy and paste that defensive effort to game two. She was one of the best players on the floor again, on the defensive end especially, and that set the tone for the offense.
When all 3 of your players, your top players, show up to play in the capacity that the Mercury's top 3 players showed up to play with today on both ends of the court, it's a really difficult team to beat. Satou is a basically impossible matchup. Alyssa Thomas, we've been talking about her all season and how not only can no one really guard her, but she can guard anyone else on the court. But then also you've got Kahleah Copper, literally one of the fastest players in the league, one of the best cutters, and generally speaking, just if you want her on your team, she is a winner. And so, you know, Satou, to your exact point, when the team is firing on all cylinders and she's able to be in the positions that she was in tonight to put up good shots and not feel pressure to do it all, because even she talked about her shot volume in the last game in pregame. Like, she didn't dislike the shots that she was taking. She went back and she watched the film. We talked that night before either of us even looked at the legitimate statistics on where she took her shots and whatnot. Neither of us thought that she necessarily was taking bad shots. And today was no different. She took the exact same profile of shot, just had a better day. And so it's a great day to be a Satou Sabally believer, and it's a great day to be the person that DM Matt Ishbia to bring Satou Sabally to the Valley. It's just a great day to believe in this team, and Satou Sabally is a massive pillar in what makes this team work.
To a point, friend of the program, Steve Jones 20, posted on Twitter at halftime. New York Liberty had 37 points as a team. The Mercury Big Three alone had 37 points at halftime. When they're playing that comprehensively together, it's not 2/3 of it or 1/3 of it. It's all 3 having impact on both ends of the floor in multiple capacities. Now the impact of Monica Komakani is felt to a different level. Now DeWanna Bonner's impact is felt to a different level. Kat Westbelt the same. Sammy Whitcomb the same. Natasha Mack the same. It hits different when all three of them are playing and at a certain frequency in unison with one another. And this was one of their better played games all season long, with all three in the lineup and all three playing to a certain level. No one stood out specifically in terms of scoring because they all chipped in at specific moments. AT had the second half, Satou had the second quarter, Kahleah had the first quarter. And they came in waves. That's what the big three construct is. It was what makes it hard to guard. It's what makes it hard to just match up against in general. They played well to their strengths today, and it was all again with their identity as aligned as much as anything else.
Well, I'm feeling amped up, and I want to finish talking about this win and get to the. I want to talk about your keys because it feels like sometimes Steven is a literal fortune teller with the way that his keys are exactly correct, but really he's just a true ball knower, and we all need to respect him for what exactly he is. So I want to talk about that as well as a little Game 3 preview before we get out of here for the night. So after this quick break here on the PHNX Mercury podcast, do not go anywhere. You guys, I almost needed them to go to New York. And now I might need them to go to Minnesota or even Golden State. Who knows? The world is our oyster here in the WNBA playoffs. Everyone needs a checking account. You can get a checking account with the built-in benefit. The Mountain America MyStyle Checking Account has just the perks for you. You can enjoy restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel, and much, much more. Make MyStyle your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/MyStyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership is required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration, activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. It really helps me out every single day, whether I have a 6 o'clock in the meeting morning or I have to be up in Phoenix for game 3. They're there for me no matter what. It's our good friends over at Circle K. They're going to help you out with 25 cents off a gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents a gallon on every fill-up after that. Then you can work your way up into the little 5-cent off club like me, Steven. I'm going to be honest. Noah's new. I don't know if Noah's in the 5-cent off club, so he might be exiled.
Who?
This is awkward.
I'm in a 5-cent club for certain.
Well, that's good. And we've got all the 5 centers here. And then on every 4th visit after that, they're going to give you 25 cents off the gallon again. You get 79-cent Polar Pops, 99-cent Froster, 3 for $5 Gatorades. The deals just go on and on and on if you're an Inner Circle Rewards member. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Man, what a shock to hear my guy Kevo over the mic. That was not to be expected. And earlier, Steven said Kevin's name, and I was like, that's not right, but whatever. I just work here. Little do I know, peek behind the curtain. Apparently, Kevin's back.
I cannot believe that you think that I would miss a playoff W post game for even a minute. I was telling Damon on the way up that this game has to go longer because I need to be on this post game show.
Well, first of all, since you're talking into the mic, why don't you let everybody know what you were up to today?
Please go check out
the
AZ Wildcats podcast today. We had an awesome show. We were live from Arizona men's basketball's floor, the McHale Center floor, the hallowed grounds that are McHale. We had the who's who pretty much except for Tommy Lloyd and not Jaden Bradley. He was on the show though. Braden Burries, who was sick. So he did not pop on the show, but the who's who was there. Please go watch that. Show some love.
Say that one more time.
Please go watch that AZ Wildcats podcast episode from today, live from McHale, the showcase of Media Day for Arizona basketball. Even if you're a Sun Devil like Eric, at least throw it a like.
And where can they find that?
On our YouTube page, in the live section at the AZ Wildcats pod. Check it out.
Who was on the show today?
Me, Damon, Erika helped with all the social. We had Koa Pete, gold medalist. We had Jaden Bradley. We had Dwayne Aristo. We had Evan Nelson. We had Ivan Karchenkov. We had Mobile Mowat. I'm running out of breath. Go check out the rest to find out who else is on the show.
One time Kevin, for the AZ Wildcats pod. One time. We can't see y'all clapping, but clapping hands. We celebrate everything around here. All y'all put in hard work. That was a longer than 8-hour day, especially when you put in tandem the commute to and from Tucson. Shout out to y'all and the commitment to still come and produce for the Mercury show, especially during the playoff time. We appreciate you, Mr. Mr. Thomas.
I
Mr.
appreciate.
Post, I was gonna call you at first.
I would take either one, but yeah, no, I appreciate the love. I appreciate you, Stephen. I appreciate you, Erika, for all your help as well in the chat. I appreciate y'all for showing up for a post game after a W in the WNBA playoffs because the Mighty Mercury are back, and I can say that on this podcast. And Erika's not going to yell at me because they got a big old fat W, and I love saying that.
Kevin, I just want you to know that I am so excited to tell you about the day that I had because the connections I made for the future of the AZ Wildcats pod, they can't be replicated.
Teasers, let's
I just
go.
Dwayne Airstone, he's a PHNX star waiting to be born. And, it's just the content really writes itself, and it's just such a fun group, such a fun day. Great day if you're a Wildcat fan, great day if you're a Mercury fan. I feel like it can't. I don't know. Did the D-backs lose? Oh yeah, in a heartbreaking fashion, right before the Mercury or right before media day started, huh?
I thought the
It's
D-backs.
tough.
Oh, they did lose today. Yeah, they won last night.
That stinks. Well, it's tough to tough. Sucks to suck. Mercury got the W. Like Kahleah says, Dubs in the chat. The word I'm not allowed to say on the pod. But yeah, I wanted to get to Stevens by the numbers because I feel like they bring invaluable lessons to me every single time. And inevitably, if they bring a lesson to me, they probably bring a lesson to our beloved listeners as well.
Yeah, the keys were simple. We talked about most of them in yesterday's or in game one's post game rather. Execution, especially with after timeouts, they had a lot of mishaps in after timeout scenarios, in ways that they typically didn't have issues with throughout the regular season. Number two, tend to the margins appropriately. The margins, we're talking about the unscripted points. They didn't have the best game, especially early on with the second chance points that they did concede to the New York Liberty. New York did finish with 15 second chance points. That's something that the Mercury are definitely going to want to clean up in game 3. And that's something that in a game 3, in an elimination game, a do or die game, if you will, you have to handle your business with. Otherwise, that's enough to kind of tilt the scale in favor of your opponents. So we want to see them clean that part up, but they did do a great job with the fast break points, with the turnover points, and just generally finding ways to get those extra opportunities and compile those. And then the biggest one, number 3, get Satou much better looks. And from the second quarter point on throughout the rest of the game, they did a great job with that. The offense was much better in the half court in game 2 than it was in game 1. And we saw Satou take the same shots that she did in game 1, but just had a much better rhythm and a much better kind of flow, if you will, with the cadence at which they were happening. And she was in a much better space because of it. And, I mean, they kept feeding her the ball. They kept putting her in those spots, and the confidence, it really shined in that second quarter as much as anybody else's did on the offensive end.
It did. And the confidence is everything in positions like this, especially when you have to go into an environment like New York. Like, confidence is such a huge piece of all of it. So, and we've talked kind of at length about how so many of these players on the Mercury roster are rhythm players, and being in that kind of flow state is very important for them. And I think that positionally speaking, and we're obviously going to get into game 3 here in just a few minutes, but positionally speaking, like they're rhythmically much better sound than they were a week ago. So, and I feel pretty confident and comfortable in saying that. So, and I think the numbers reflect that of what they want them to reflect. Like, they would love if all 3 big 3 are consistently scoring between 14 to 17 points. I mean, and if they can get up to 20, even better, but they don't want any one person to have to do too much. So I think that this team is positionally in a great spot for Friday's game on Friday.
And something else I also want to mention, we are a month removed from the hashtag lineup discourse that was going on, and
Not even.
people questioning the decisions of Nate Tibbetts and company for the decisions they made with the rotation and shrinking it while the team got healthy at a crucial juncture of the home stretch of the season. You don't get this win without having leaned into the pieces that fit most with the identity and style of play that you knew you would need to play come playoff time, without the lumps that came with some of those losses against the Las Vegas Aces in particular, where they're spending more time playing these particular lineup constructs, knowing that when it's do or die time, we know the team, or we know the faction of the team that we want to go to most. So we're gonna give those players, because they're all healthy together, as much time to kind of learn through the losses and then apply the learned lessons with opportunities after them. That two game stretch where it was within a week where they played the Las Vegas Aces and they lost both of those games. One of them they had a great chance to win at the end, and they just had a mishap on the inbound pass, and then the other one was a blowout on the road a week later. Without learning those lessons, they don't get to beating the defending champions on their home floor with the opportunity for that team to advance to the second round. This is why that moment where they made that shift, and I mentioned it was good timing for them, that was the reason why, so that they could reap the benefits come playoff time. They can't beat the New York Liberty without those lineups being to their best selves. And to that point, the most used iteration of the lineups where it's Satou, Dawana, and Alyssa in the front court with any two pairing of guards on the floor with them. The most used iteration was with Sammy Whitcomb and Kahleah Copper. That lineup was +8 today. Scored 17 points and held the New York Liberty to 9 points on 30% true shooting percentage, so including their free throws. They did a great job just shutting their water off completely while also parlaying those stops into opportunities to score for themselves. They're operating like a well-oiled machine right now. The roster rotation has been shrunken to 8, and they're reaping the benefits of the chemistry and continuity that they were able to establish in that last 8 to 10 game stretch where they shrunk the rotation.
Special shout out to all of you guys in the comments. I want to give a really, really, really special shout out to our youngest PHNX Mercury fan, Delilah. If you're watching this right now, I know you are because you're in the comments, leaving us comments for the very first time. And I just want to say hi. You're always at the Mercury games. You got your shoes hand drawn. I told your mom, be careful. You know, I used to draw on my clothes as a kid. It's not a good habit to have, okay? It's actually a terrible habit to have. Stop doing that. You're damaging property permanently, and you know you don't want to be the kid in your house that's just damaging all your mom's stuff. So stop doing that, but maintain the X factor of it all because no one bleeds X factor as much as Delilah. So shout out to Delilah for being in the chat today. Shout out to all of you guys. Be sure to leave a like, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Um, yeah, but to go back to your point, the guards being interchangeable is to me the best part about this team right now. And like especially after the discourse that we had at the beginning of the season about the lack of a point guard on this team and blah 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 blah. Blah. So to me, it being interchangeable to your own point, like Monique was in foul trouble in the first half. I was to my credit a little bit, I was driving, so I don't know about these foul calls. I whatever. 3 fouls in the first half is not good though. And it's not that's not shade at Mo. That's just the reality of the situation. You don't want your starting point guard, especially your primary on-ball defender, to have 3 fouls in that position. But the fact that they were not only able to make it work, but able to succeed in that position, it shows the grit and mentality of where this team is, you know, currently at right now. So I don't think it matters, to be honest, if it's Sammy and Ka or if it's Mo, or even if Lexi has to slide in for a few minutes. And even today, Kat Westfeld playing as many minutes as she did, I won't say surprised me, but it definitely like positively did surprise me, to be honest, to see her have as many impact minutes as she did. So I was very, very satisfied with the lineups today. And to your point, like the lineup discourse had, I will say the resting of the players late in the season, that stinks. And I think I do agree with the general masses and probably played a part in the reason that they lost game one, because they are such rhythm players. Like we got to practice what we preach, right? And so but at the same time, you don't want to risk injury. So I understand why they did it. So I'm not really mad at anybody for the situation. And to your point, they did the work earlier in the season. They knew they had secured home court. So at the end of the day, they weren't really going to move up or down in any position. So as long as they were in a position to win game two, that really is all that matters. So I'm hype, and I think this team is probably super hype. You said that there's no clips from the post game because it was remote, so that's stinky poo
Yeah,
poo.
no
But
no clips from post game, no questions from post game. We'd just like to take 10 seconds to say we work really hard all season long. Home games, road games, anywhere in between. Attending all of the practices and making extra time and covering the team thoroughly. Would like to be able to participate in when the team that we cover is on the road. If we can do so in the regular season, we should be allowed to do so in the playoffs as well. And I'll leave it there. But yeah, we got to clean these things up. If media
I
matters,
will say it
if media
does.
matters and media members are doing the work thoroughly and showing up every day, I feel like that's not asking for too much.
To your exact point, especially when this is, to my memory, which it's not perfect, but it is pretty good. This is the first time that all three have been available at the exact same time.
It is. And
So,
you telling me if this let's just play the hypothetical and they lost. Then what? Like obviously you get to have them home for exit interviews, but the tone
and a
has
lot of teams
shifted. You're
aren't even
not
doing
getting
those this year. So I don't even know. Are they guaranteed? Who knows?
just saying.
So
If
yeah,
media matters, and it does, we got to make sure we're keeping it prioritized in the ways that it should be. I didn't mean to make this into a drawn out thing, but it's been a problem for years with the W at times. You got people working hard. Some people don't do this full time. Some people don't have the facilities to show up to every game all the time. But the ones that find those opportunities and find the ways to do it, and then they don't get an opportunity to, do it when it matters most. We gotta be better. And I'm not just speaking for myself. There's other people that were, in the chat that I've seen in person, and I've heard them talk to me about sacrifices that they've made to do this thing of ours. Everybody don't get a chance to be on a podcast like us. But they show up on Zoom and they show up in the ways that they're extended opportunities to, and they do the job thoroughly. You gotta make these opportunities available for people. I ain't
I
trying to
love to
come up
see
here and
them get
preach
a little
and all of that,
feisty.
but just speaking on what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling.
I'm not trying to preach, but you did, Pastor
Hey,
Prejon
the
Gardner.
truth is what it is. Just keeping it a buck like I always will. But aside from that, we can go ahead and transition away from it. Are we talking about game 3 now?
That's what I was planning on. Are you cool with that?
Hmm? You want to go predictions? You want to go talk about the game? What you want to talk about first?
I want to first point out that if you think that this is going to be a cakewalk for the Phoenix Mercury, you can just hang it up, leave your hat at the door, go ahead and check your coat, go to the crazy institution, let me know how it is, and then come back and let me know because this is not going to be a cakewalk. They just borderline blew out the reigning champions of in the WNBA. If you think that they're going to come to PHX Arena unprepared, you are 1,000% wrong. There is a reason that the Mercury were able to lose the game one. And listen, I'm not going to say that the Liberty played a perfect game because I think both teams tried to basically give it away multiple different times in game one. That said, they're going to be extremely locked in on Friday. And so I think
Yeah.
you should expect a close game. I think you should, as physical as game one and game two were, expect that 3 times because both these teams are playing work hard or go home. So it's get with it time. And to the point I made earlier about the Mercury like being full of winners, same thing goes with the New York Liberty. Most of them have won at literally every single level, whether it's college, down here in the pros, even overseas, most of them have won significantly. So, and you can say the same thing about the Mercury too, but this is not going to be a cakewalk. You have to hope that the Mercury come out, for lack of a better term, humming on the offensive end, but it is going to be all rooted still in the defensive end and what they're able to get done on that side. I think that this team, and I said it earlier in the pod, and I'm going to say it again. I do think that this team is positionally in a much better position to win this game than the New York Liberty, especially because of the rhythm piece of it all. This feels like a completely different team than the one we saw lose game one on Monday. Or was that Sunday? No.
Yeah, Sunday.
So it's like a completely different team. Like, because granted, they were good on the defensive end on Sunday, but they didn't feel as locked in and focused on the objective at hand as they did today. So I think that both teams are going to come in with that laser focus on the object at hand, which is a win. And it's going to be a very close contested game from start to finish.
You got a score prediction?
Oh, I don't want to, but let's see. Oof,
Game
oh my
2 was
gosh. And
86
Golden
to
State is up.
60. Game 1 was 76 to 69 with the extra 5 minutes of overtime.
I'm gonna go Mercury 80. Liberty 74.
You got a X Factor player of the game?
Say Kahleah Copper.
Okay. Kevin, you want to chime in? You got thoughts?
I do. Not sure on a score prediction. Brain's kind of cooked, but I will say Mercury win, and I will say Alyssa Thomas shows why she is the MVP of this league, and in an elimination setting, redeems herself for the missed free throws and the missed layup, and becomes the X factor on our Game 3 postgame show.
Okay. I got Mercury 75 to 71. I think it's a game that enters the clutch. I think it's a game that comes down to who executes better. And though we're not sure what the Mercury offense will be in the half court because that's been the kind of high variance side of the ball for them, what we do know is that the defense is going to show up and is going to be present from start to finish. That's enough, and that pulls and the ways in which they defend can tug at the strings enough to give them some separation should they execute on the offensive end to match what they're doing defensively. I got them winning by 4 or 5. And I think for me, not the X factor, I'll get to the X factor in a moment. Actually, I'll get to X factor in 2 moments. First moment I want to speak to, Sabrina Ionescu. In game 1, what was she? 6 for 18 from the field, 16 points. Not the most efficient, not the most effective, not the true Sabrina Ionescu impact in terms of scoring. Game 2, 9 points, 3 for 13 from the field. First name I'm bringing to mind is Monique Akua Makani. In the games where she scored double digits this season, the Mercury are 10-2, or 8-2, excuse me. Anytime she gets to double digits. This game threes are typically won off the strength of role players, or elimination games are typically won off the strength of role players. Star players usually do what they do in some capacity. It's going to take one of the hashtag others to step up in a way that either they have in this series or in ways that they have at certain points throughout the regular season. And why is that an advantage for me for the Phoenix Mercury? Because when you look at the quote-unquote others, who are their others? Monica Makani, that's 1. Catherine Westbelt, that's 2. 2 rookies in their top 8 in the playoffs. Take a moment and then think about the other 2 names, or the other 3 names that are included with that. Natasha Mack, she does what she does with their multiple efforts. But the most key names to mention, the second all-time leading scorer in total points in playoff history in the WNBA. DeWanna Bonner. What a luxury it is to have someone like DeWanna Bonner as a reserve on your team. They can play multiple roles, step up at the biggest moments in ways in which they're scripted but also unscripted. And you also have Sammy Whitcomb, one of the deadliest snipers in W history, gets a requisite level of attention from that and also has ways to make plays outside of just shooting the basketball to put an impact on the game. I think it's going to be a tandem of DeWanna and Sammy knocking down shots and making timely plays on both ends of the floor that gives the Mercury just enough of that edge to eke out a win on their home floor. This is why it was a big deal for me, especially for them to go and get Dawana, because you get to these moments in the season where it's do or die. One thing you can never put a true value on is having experience, but experience that comes with an unwavering confidence that permeates throughout the rest of the players on the court with said player. Obviously, AT has it. Obviously, Kahleah has it as a finals MVP. Obviously, Dawana has it as a multi-time champion and a player that's knocked down some of the biggest shots in the history of the game on the playoff stage. This becomes an advantage for your team when you can lean into lineups that aren't including one of your starting 5 players. And it has 2 players that have all types of been there before, done that before, between Dawana and Sammy having won multiple championships and made big shots in route to both of those things. So I think that's an advantage for the Mercury. Obviously, the New York Liberty just won a championship last season. So this is not to act like this is some big discrepancy between the two. But what would typically be an advantage for the Liberty against most teams is not as much of one, and honestly might be neutralized to certain extents because of the ways that Dawana has played in this series and the ways that Sammy has shown to have impact. Number 2 point that I wanted to get to, the New York Liberty only had 1 player that scored in double digits today. I don't know the last time you could have said that. That probably hasn't happened all season long for this team. And that matters for me because this team is one of the best offensive teams in the W. They have some top-end talents. The Mercury playing this great a defense is what really gives me the idea that they'll be focused and locked in enough and sustain that level of competition that you need to win an elimination game, even if it is on your home floor. And then the number 3 point for me, the big 3. This is all that you built this roster for. This is all the work that you put in, the culture you've established, all of those things. Now it's time to see return on your investment. Continue to play the ways that got you to this point. Don't deviate from the plot. Lean 10 toes down into the plot. And the result that you desire is right there for you in terms of opportunity. It's just a matter of going to get it. You got to execute. You're not going to beat the New York Liberty without executing. Similarly, and this is why this route through the playoffs made as much sense to me as it would, you don't beat the New York Liberty without out-executing them. They're one of the best teams in executing. Guess who's likely going to be waiting for you in the second round should you handle your business on Friday? The team that lost to the New York Liberty by 1 possession in the finals last year. And this is the best execution team in the W. So it only gets harder. And you got to go and handle your business on Friday to get to that opportunity. So prediction-wise, like I said, 75, I think, or 74 to 71, 75, 71. I got the Mercury winning on Friday. And we'll have a little party before getting ready for round 2, which will probably start either Sunday or Monday on the postgame show on Friday. So lock in.
Who's bringing cake? I'll bring like plastic forks.
Kevin is
This
the
man.
worst type of person at a potluck, man.
This man.
Actually, I feel like I was just rage baited successfully, and that makes me even more upset.
No, yeah, you were definitely successfully rage baited. I'm actually the opposite of that. I will bring like a home baked good or like a,
I was gonna say, never mind. This is not. Stephen, frankly, is not ready for the level of thunder stickery that I will be bringing to Friday's episode if the Mercury pull off game 3. And listen, I remember the 4-game rule win streak, and I respect it. The rules are different in the playoffs. It's a new season, which means new rules. And frankly, in the playoffs, every win call for the thunder sticks because you never know when the last time you're going to be banging those thunder sticks for the season is. And I like banging the thunder sticks. I'm gonna let myself do what I like to do as many times as possible till the end of the season. Just like Alyssa Thomas wants to let her ponytail bob up and down the court as many times as possible throughout the rest of the season. I'm trying to bang the thunder sticks as many times as possible, and I think that's fair.
I mean, playoff wins are always a celebratory moment because they are they're hard to get. They are very hard to get. I know tonight's game was a blowout win, but if I don't have enough time to explain how, and I haven't won a playoff game on a professional level, so I'm not speaking as if I've been there before, but the level of preparation that goes into The level of preparation that goes into winning one playoff game, let alone a series, let alone a 3-game series, unprecedented. The margin for error is almost non-existent because there's no tomorrow that's guaranteed. The series barely even lasts a week in terms of how many days that you're actually in series against one specific opponent. It's hard. So I want to make sure we give some flowers to the Mercury coaching staff comprehensively, assistant coaches included, scouts included. Job well done. This is not easy at all. Just to get one win, especially against the reigning champs again. They're healthy. Stewie played. They had all of their bodies available. You went and got one in a way that we haven't seen them get beat on their home court all season long. Especially since Stewie got there in general, so that goes back to last season. Not easy to do. So now it's about trying to find a way to do it again in some capacity. I imagine preparation won't be a problem for them considering what we saw tonight and what we saw in game 1 defensively. But yeah, every win in the playoffs is a celebratory moment. The point I'm getting at. This is not an easy task in any capacity.
So you're saying you're pro Thunder Sticks throughout the playoffs?
Pro Thunder Sticks for every win in the playoffs, yes.
Man, this 6 a.m. meeting is looking brighter and brighter by the minute, you guys. Life is looking up. We are so back. Mercury's so back. We're so back. Kevin's literally so back. Like,
Kevin just got back.
Literally.
I thought he didn't miss a minute of the show, which means he's been here 55 minutes.
I missed legitimately, I think like 5 minutes of the show.
Mm-hmm. I saw you when you walked in with the urgency.
Well, you know they did X out your name on the one word burn. Noah pulled out his favorite graphic with your head crossed out, right?
Of course,
I'm sure
you
that is
did.
Noah's favorite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough. You hate to see it, but I like to see it because, like I said, Noah gives us a little more like edge to his.
Wow.
Isn't that tough?
He
See,
did me
it's
like
tough.
that? Wow. Wow.
I like how it looks like a kindergartner wrote his name. That's like my favorite part of the entire graphic. I think that's absolutely hilarious.
Playoff update: Golden State up 5 with 7 minutes and 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Minnesota Lynx on the prowl, if you will.
I don't want to state the obvious here, but I want the Valkyries to win this game so bad. So
I
bad.
want them to win it because it would be. I can't say what I want to say. It's very inappropriate for them to not be playing on their actual home court for their
I
first
agree.
playoff game. The fact that they earned the opportunity to have a most improved player of the year, they have a coach of the year in an inaugural season of an expansion team, and your first celebratory moment for them is congratulations. You do not get to play your first home game for your franchise's history on your home court. You can play it on another home court, but not on your actual home court. What
I
we
think the
doing,
players
man?
have had excellent attitudes about it, but it is
Yes.
pretty crappy. And
I
they're-
respect them being professional, but I'll be their mouthpiece for a moment. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I imagine Valhalla is still showing out the way that they have all season long, because that's just clearly a franchise that could care less about adversity. They're just going to get it done. But yeah, they deserve so much better. I hope they do go and get this win because of those things. They've just been working up against adversity all season long.
well, Kate Money Martin, she said that Valhalla is a mindset, and I love that for them. So good for them. Keep rocking and rolling. And frankly, to Steven's point, I'm going to make his joke again. Stay on the prowl because sue me. Sue me. I'd like an upset, okay? Sue me. That doesn't involve my team.
I think the W
Did
would
we,
love to have 4 game threes between tomorrow and Friday.
sounds like a lot of revenue they could be bowling in. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but sounds like it might help a certain negotiation that apparently touched base today, per what Ryan and Rebecca were literally saying on tonight's broadcast. But hey, you know, that's just that. Can I say one thing about the Ryan and Rebecca of it all, really quick, and then we're gonna get
Mm-hmm.
out of here for real.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, it's not that I really, really dislike Holly Rowe. It's just that I do dislike Holly Rowe. And where there's Ryan and Rebecca, there's Rowe, and it really stinks for me. Ryan and Rebecca are like my favorite duo. I was listening to the game as I was driving down the highway. There aren't that many other commentating teams that I can really do that with in the WNBA because I don't think they're that expressatory and not feel like I'm missing out on the excitement of the game. When Satou hit that big three, I was going crazy in my car, you know? And then when Holly Rose started speaking, I'm like, let me turn this off. Let me just mute my car real quick. I'm good. Like, I don't need to hear this. She's gonna ask somebody something inappropriate about their parent or their dog or maybe their big toe. I don't know, but you know, it just where there's the two R's, there's the last name R, and that really stinks, you know? I really like the two R's. And I know that I am in the minority in that. I know a lot of people dislike the two R's, but I like it. So nonetheless, that was all I wanted
I
to
would,
complain
I
about.
would, I'll just say, just from my side, I would love to see more Andrea Carter and LaChina Robinson. And also Angel Gray, she does a sensational job as well. Would love to see more of them on the W spotlight games, especially. No offense to any of the three names that you just got done speaking to, but I think there's a lot of talent and a lot of other ways they can reach the audience as well. I would like to see that. Just throwing that out there. That's not my job, none of my business, honestly, either. But just speaking on my 2 cents of what I would like to see more of.
This is a show where Steven and I say exactly what we feel, and that's what we did today. I'm proud of Steven and I for sticking to our guns. So, period. Did we miss anything today?
No, we talked about game 3. It'll be a quick turnaround going into the second round should the Mercury advance. So be on the lookout for that. Game 3 is obviously Friday. I think the game ones for the second round are slated to start Saturday and Sunday, if I remember looking at the schedule correctly. So there won't be much time to turn around from series to series. But that also means that there's just significantly less time to game plan for matchup. So all Mercury fans should be rooting for a game 3 from the next round series because you don't want either of those. Obviously, New York or Minnesota won the first game. You don't want them to have an advantage in terms of preparation and rest going into that second round series potentially. So, yeah, put that effort together, and we're manifesting a win for the Golden State Valkyries for the reasons I mentioned, but also for the competitive nature of these playoffs. We won 4 game 3s. No one gets a competitive advantage going into the next round. Everybody's gotta fight it out, duke it out going into the second round of the playoffs.
I know we were spoiled last year in the finals, but it just feels like another all-time classic, like playoff run is brewing right now. Like last year was incredible. Like literally, my roommate and I were just debating on was it Sabrina that hit the game 3 or that winner here, or was it Stewie's free throws in this game? Like you know, it's a blast. It was a great series of games, and we're just due for something even better this season, and it's dope that we get to say that. So I'm stoked. It's been a fun season, and even we're only 2 games into the postseason, and it's been even more fun. So I'm excited for what's to come. Hopefully, the Mercury can knock our socks off on Friday evening. If you're a PHNX diehard, you know where to meet me at halftime. I'll be there. Playoffs don't change where we are, where we stand. We're still ride or die. So be there, be square. Follow me on Twitter at Eric Lee Day. Follow him on Twitter at StephenPG3. Follow our lovely producer, Kevin, at Kevo Post. And then you can follow all 3 of us doing our fine work together at PHNX_Mercury. We will be back with you live on Friday following game 3 of this New York Phoenix matchup. I'm so excited. Steven's so excited. I know Kevin's so excited. And I believe that we will be back in front of you with some Thunder Sticks. So we will see you guys on Friday.
And be on the lookout for content between now and Friday.
My Mercury!
We all silly like the mayor.